What is going on, guys? Hope you're doing well. Welcome back. We have another banger. We have Chris Leak. What happened to the greatest quarterback of all time for Florida? Now, that may be a lie. He might not be the greatest quarterback of all time, but he was a five-star. He led them to a natty in 2006. Tim Tebow learned a lot from Chris Leak and helped them in 2007, 8, and 9. Chris Leak was one of those quarterbacks that just was timeless in the 2000s. We're going to watch a video. What happened to him? So sit back, relax, get your popcorn, and let go. Here we are. Let go.
But this is where our story takes a drastic, and I mean a drastic turn for the former five-star quarterback.
Okay, this is interesting how we started the video. Feels like we're already like halfway in the video. Maybe he's like setting up like a story here.
Chris Leak. Whether or not he did it, there's one thing for sure. His reputation took a hit.
They will bring three.
When you think of some of the greatest Florida quarterbacks of all time, who comes to your mind first?
Tim Tebow. And he's going to probably say Tim Tebow. I guarantee you, my man's about to say Tim Tebow.
Rex Grossman, Danny Werfel, Steve Spurrier, and come on, man. You thought I was going to forget him? No way. Tim Tebow. All those players I just listed off were great and outstanding football players. However, with that being said, there's
and one of them being a great coach. I'm not gonna pause too much, but this is a reaction video. Y'all know how this goes. But yeah, Steve Spurrier can't leave out what he did in the coaching for Florida as well as South Carolina.
Seems to be a guy that's always forgotten about when you bring up this conversation. The said player I'm referring to goes by the name of Chris Leak. Unfortunately for Mr. Chris Leak, he was the quarterback before the Tebow era. Why is that important? And we'll touch more on this later in the video. Since Tebow was so good, everybody just forgot about the guy before him. The one thing I've always remembered about Chris Leak is how beautiful, I mean beautiful, of a spiral he threw. I'm going to show you some of the video clips. It's hard to tell because this footage is so old. But good gosh.
This got to be like 2005, 6 right here.
That was one of the prettiest passes you were ever going to see.
Leak got a man in position for Florida. Here's Leak.
Chris Leak led Florida to a national championship, and here's one of those beautiful passes in the BCS championship.
Perfect on his first 6 throw. Position on your left.
Oh, yeah.
Number one, led his team to a national championship. You can't be a slouch of a quarterback and do that. Number two, like I've harped on a lot already, and I've shown you, he was a good passer. Last but not least, number three, I haven't even shared this with you. He was a prestigious five-star recruit. I share that with you to lead me into my next point perfectly. He was the guy. Chris Leak was the man. Oddly enough, though.
What was he? Was he the number one quarterback of the class? I wonder.
After those Florida days and after that championship, he essentially disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
When I was gathering all my information, doing research for this video, it was more puzzling than I originally thought it was. The fall off of Chris Leak is head scratching. What went wrong for this five-star quarterback of the team who won the national championship to vanish just like that? There's many questions people have been asking about this guy even till this day. But however, it all circles back to the one. And I mean the one big question I want to try to get to the bottom of in today's video.
What happened?
What happened to Chris Leak?
Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you are having a great day. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. Major shout out to this comment right here.
Shout out VP.
Recommendations for future story videos like this. Leave a suggestion down below, and who knows, we might make that video.
Bro, this is like a video game. You can't tell me this isn't like, what is this? What's this say? BA Raiders? Something Raiders. Is this high school?
Good and bad news. The good news is college football, it's right around the corner. Bad news is once the season starts, that is the end to the documentaries on the channel, and most of y'all know this. Oh yeah, by the way, thanks for this comment. 0 views in 10 seconds, period. Matt be bald. I understand the first part of it, and then at the end you're just rubbing salt in the wound. Like, come on, man, what are we doing? You write an average comment, which is fine, and then at the end you just gotta throw in some disrespect. Anyways, getting back on track here. Strap in, buckle up.
This is some really good high school footage.
I really like to eat and watch your video clips. Trust me, I do the same thing, but I am mad, blah, blah, shit, the crap out, now, enough for that, no. Let's get into it.
It could have just been stock footage. I have no idea if that was actually Chris Leak.
Chris Leak coming out of the state of North Carolina.
It was not.
5-star recruit, but not only a 5-star recruit, he had an overall scout grade of 9940.
He was 12 nationally. What is NC Pro to NC1? I have no idea what that means. I'm gonna be frankly honest with you guys.
Didn't quite crack the top 10. He was only ranked as the 12th best overall player in the nation. Well, listen to this, though, and I got to share this with you. In high school, he had 15,593 passing yards.
That's pretty freaking good.
Insane, and I wonder where that ranks all time in high school football history. It's got to be up there somewhere in the top 10. And if that was enough for you, listen to this. Hit 185 touchdown passes.
Pretty good.
That isn't just ridiculous. That is redonkulous. There's not even a word to describe it. He was one of the most sought-after quarterback recruits coming out of high school, and long story short, he commits and signs with Florida. He arrives on a campus in the year 2003, and as a true freshman,
2003. That's crazy.
he's playing immediately. In that first season, he completed roughly 59% of his passes, had 2,400 passing yards.
So he started 4 years. That's something that people don't really realize. I'm also people. He started 13 games in 2003. He played the 2004 season. He played the 2005 season. And of course, 6. Okay, interesting.
Yards with 16 passing touchdowns to 11 INTs. I wouldn't say that's good, but I also wouldn't say it's bad.
It's average. That's average.
Second season, which was 2004.
We also got to remember, 16 touchdowns isn't bad for a 2000s team, especially a 2000 SEC team. Very run heavy. Defense is the name of the game up until like 2012. Defense is the name of the game. I think Johnny Manziel literally breaks the seal with the Big 12 joining the SEC in terms of offense taking over. But yeah.
I wouldn't say it's bad. It was okay. Heading into his second season, which was 2004, this is when everybody was like, all right, you got 1 year under your belt. It's time for you to go out there and ball out. I'm curious. Let me know in the comment section if you remember that 04 season. How do you think Chris Leak played? Would you say he balled out? Would you say it was slightly above average or just average? Let me know. I'll show you with the numbers. He jumped.
Okay, so we got about the same completion percentage, almost 700 more yards passing, 29 touchdowns. Something happened in 2004.
Of his completion percentage 0.2, so you could round that up to 60. Had right at 3,200 passing yards with 29 touchdowns, which was a lot back then, and 12 INTs.
A lot back
so
then, yeah.
His interceptions stayed relatively the same, and the touchdowns, passing touchdowns, went up by 13. So that's good. As far as it goes for the Florida football team itself, didn't have a great year. They finished 7-5. His junior year in 2005, he took really good care of the football. Bumped up his completion percentage to 60.
20 touchdowns. Interesting.
3 had 2,600 passing yards with 20 touchdowns, which is a decrease, but you'll also notice this, had only 6 INTs.
Pretty good.
It's good enough to lead Florida to a 9-3 record that year. They beat Iowa in the bowl game, and heading into 2006, this is when everyone knew you got Chris Leak coming back for his senior year. Florida could be something special. And special they were. They started out the year on a 6-game winning streak. And
this is 2006? By the way, I'm an Alabama fan, so this hurts. Not really, because we cemented making Mike Sirianni leave and get Nick Saban, so thank you, Florida. 42-0 UCF. That's before UCF was like even a contender to be like a group of 5 elite team. I'm seeing Southern Mississippi was not a bad team. They've been more or less an average team. Tennessee at 13 is pretty on par. They barely winning there. Kentucky, this is probably within that streak of like 19 straight or 30 straight, whatever it was. LSU, number 9. LSU was a good team in 2006. I'll say that. Okay.
they're just cruising and bruising past everybody. Well, that is outside of Tennessee, in which they won a nail-biter by 1 point. On October 14th in 2006, this is when they had to travel to no other than Auburn.
Auburn's a tough place to play in 2006.
Didn't put on his best performance. 9 for 17, buck 08 through the air, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Auburn wins by double digits. And at the time, although you didn't write off Florida, you were telling yourself, well, I guess they just don't have it to get it done this year. Even after the game, they weren't super impressive over Georgia, won by
that's a rivalry game. You can't really look at it that way.
7. They weren't super impressive over.
But you got to look at it with Vanderbilt and say what's going on. They had 3 straight true road games. Actually, Georgia's not a true road game if they're playing in Jacksonville.
Vanderbilt won by 6, and they beat South Carolina by 1. So
Oof.
you're sitting there going, well, is this really a national championship contending team?
Yeah, I mean, if there's undefeated, you'd obviously put them over this team. But the BCS, is BCS more like a computer? It doesn't really look at things on the eye test, right?
They weren't dominating teams, but they were winning games, and sometimes that's all you got to do.
Arkansas won the SEC West in 2006. That's funny.
Beat the Seminoles by 7 points and had a really good top 10 win over Arkansas. Get into the BCS championship in which they destroy
Ohio State.
Ohio State.
41-14.
Chris Leak had a phenomenal performance against Ohio State. He had a quarterback rating of 91. 25 for 36, 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 INTs. Couldn't ask much more out of your quarterback. After his season ends, he declares for the NFL draft, but teams were not interested in him, not even to the slightest. Believe it or not, in the 2007 NFL draft, he went undrafted.
What?
Caught some
How tall was he?
people by surprise because, sure, he didn't have the best measurables. He wasn't your stereotypical NFL quarterback, 6'5", 230 pounds, but the dude was a proven winner and he could play. The Chicago Bears did wind up signing him as a free agent that summer. Played with him in a preseason. You could say they weren't too fond of him because they caught him right when the 2007 season was beginning in September.
It shows so many parallels, and I know people are going to get mad at me even by mentioning this, but it shows so many parallels to Stetson Bennett. That's right, Stetson Bennett.
Following that, he wound up having a tryout with the Chiefs. Nothing came out of that. He tried joining the AAFL, not the AFL, but the AAFL, and then the league. There was some huge problem where they didn't have enough capital, and he never even played with them. After that big mess, in the summer of 2008, this is when he signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats out of the CFL, which is the Canadian Football League, and we've talked about them a lot on this channel. That's normally where all these forgotten college football stars go. They either go to the CFL or the Arena Football League, the AFL, something like that. Some people did have some high hopes for him, but in the CFL, he was nothing more than a backup quarterback. He played a couple of times when the starters got hurt, but outside of that, there's not too much to say. After that 3-year stint in the Canadian Football League, he then joined, like we just talked about, the AFL, which is the Arena Football League. He signed with the Jacksonville Sharks, and in his only game with them, he had 200 passing yards and 5 touchdowns.
The only
Not
game.
the stiffest competition, but it goes to prove he still had some juice left in the tank. Or would it be gas left in the tank? You get what I'm trying to say. Shortly after that, in 2012, he worked as a radio host, and in 2013, this is when he started helping Will Muschamp. This is where he was a graduate assistant for Florida, and at this point in time in his life, things were looking great. He would eventually continue to work his way up, and in 2015, he was hired as the head coach of Edgewater High School, which is located in Orlando, Florida.
I swear to God, I thought that was Eastern Michigan.
But this is where our story takes a drastic, and I mean a drastic turn for the former 5-star quarterback, Chris Leak. His team was struggling. They were losing a lot of games, and then allegations came out that he got involved with a minor. It's being reported and investigated by the police that he, how do I say this without YouTube getting too mad at me? Because I don't think you can just come out and say it. Okay, we'll do this. Okay, whatever. If YouTube gets mad at me, they get mad at me. This video is for educational, informational purposes only. Chris Leak sexually assaulted a 16-year-old girl. Reportedly, right? And allegedly. As this investigation was going on, he announced his resignation from the team. Weirdly and strangely enough, the victim in this situation didn't press charges and called off everything. From everything I read, there were no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Chris Leak, he was going to get in some major trouble. Whether or not he did it, there's one thing for sure. His reputation took a hit.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good situation, but like I said, the case was dropped and nothing.
And honestly, it's sad to see, but so many people fall down the same journey, they go down the same path. They have success, they taste success, and then they step in their own way, allegedly.
It came out of it. Fast forward time in 2017, this is when Chris Leak started up a quarterback development program. It goes by the name of Airstrike Passing Academy, and even to this day, they're up and running. Well, I know it seems like this video has came to an abrupt ending, but here we are. I guess there's only one thing to ask left, and this is where we'll end it off. Why do you think Chris Leak didn't get an opportunity in the NFL? Was it his size, his arms, the way he read defenses, he didn't process information quick enough? You let me know. For me, if you want my 2 cents, I think it was a combination of everything. He was
Mm-hmm.
a good passer, but he wasn't great, and you could say that about everything for him. To be a quarterback in the NFL, you either got to be great, really great at one thing, or great at multiple different things. I'm curious, though. Let me know your thoughts down below. But
Okay.
good gosh almighty, if you say
Uh-oh.
back in the day, but this is where our story.
All right. I accidentally. There we go. Okay. All right. We got it. All right. So, Chris Lee, he's 6 foot tall. He's 6 foot tall. Same as Drew Brees. I don't know. Like, Drew Brees, Purdue. Chris Lee, championship team, Florida. I mean, they're not too far apart in years. I think it was like 4 or 5 years in between those two people right there. I don't know. I mean, I think people. I mean, these people get paid a lot of money to analyze quarterbacks. They look at arc. They look at strength. They look at hand size, to be able to hold the ball. They look at athleticism. They look at smarts. They look at intangibles. They look at how collaborative people are. If you're going to be able to get along with teammates. If you're able to high stress situations. They're not going to just look at the 2006 season. That's a loaded Florida team, bro. There's a reason Florida did not, there's a reason Chris Lee did not win the Heisman. There's a reason why Florida was successful in 2007, 8, 9, and 6, and 5, if you want to really look at it that way. I mean, they have great recruits. I mean, one of the frames we saw Percy Harvin as their best receiver in the Auburn game. I mean, Florida's a good team. I mean, they had Urban Meyer, a great recruiter. So at the end of the day, you're going to have a team that's going to have a lot of success, and the quarterback is a part of that success. It looks like Chris Leak was more or less like a game manager. I'm keeping him more or less like a parallel with Stetson Bennett, because I mean, maybe Stetson Bennett succeeds in the NFL. I don't see it happening, but more or less, it feels like it's the same story. Hopefully, not all the way up to the end, but you know what I mean. I feel like the same type of archetype of a build. I think Stetson's a little smaller even. So, I mean, it's a similar thing. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys remember Chris Leak? Do you guys have a specific thought on him and whatnot? But yeah, that's the story. Chris Leak. What happened to Chris Leak? Shout out. I've been watching a bunch of this channel recently. MattBeGreat. Go over there and give him a subscribe if you haven't already. MattBeGreat. I'll see you guys next video. Give me a subscribe as well. We do a lot of reaction content, college football content. College football is right around the corner, so I'm excited. But yeah, until next time, peace out, guys. Bye-bye.